Hey everybody, welcome back to Starless Confidential. This week I'm going to review more of the latest releases in DC media. For this segment, it's going to be about Harley Quinn, both the animated series and the movie featuring the Birds of Prey team, and the latest animated feature, Superman Red Son. Harley Quinn has been a popular character since her creation in the 90s Batman the Animated Series. She's become DC's equivalent to Deadpool in terms of color scheme, character traits, and merchandise. Near the end of 2019, her own animated series premiered on the DC Universe streaming service. This show's sense of humor has hit various areas from comedic to very dark humor. It hits levels similar to Rick and Morty for how dark and gritty it can be. At first glance, the show may seem just random, but it has a coherent story. Harley breaks up with the Joker and wants to measure up and be taken seriously as a supervillain. Through these episodes, we see Harley gathering a crew of various DC villains, Dr. Psycho, Clayface, and King Shark. We do see a lot of other famous villains, such as Riddler, Bane, Scarecrow, even those of lesser note, like Queen of Fables, voiced by Wanda Sykes. A lot of them are portrayed humorously with their own quirks, but man, the Queen of Fables is the darkest humor I've ever seen in this show. I can't imagine anyone else playing this type of character but Wanda Sykes. Near the end of the season, Harley managed to get into Legion of Doom for a chance of respect in the supervillain community. But not too long after joining, she gets involved with Joker again and betrays her team and Ivy. It shows that despite breaking up with him, on some levels, Harley still has feelings for the Joker. And maybe she thought that if she was seen as a villain instead of a psychic, she'd probably earn some actual affection for him. But we see that Joker doesn't respect anyone, not even other members of the Legion. By the time we get to the finale, Joker blows up the Legion base and takes control of Gotham over their decision to let Harley in. And he even killed Ivy. Now, he's done a lot of horrible things, but killing Ivy is pretty much up there in his list of worst crimes. After that, Harley and her team try to work with Batman to stop the clown. But due to some shenanigans, Clayface, Harley's crew and Batman get captured. Yet despite all the power he got, Joker is not happy, even when Scarecrow unmasks Batman. Instead of revealing his identity to the public, Joker just kills Scarecrow for ruining the dynamic of his relationship to Batman. Yet I'm surprised that Batman hasn't figured a way to get out of this, because usually he's the guy that has all the plans and backup plans. But this isn't his show, otherwise it'd be over already. All that remains for him to get now is just Harley, and he wants her alive for some reason. It kind of shows that in a very messed up way, Joker does have some kind of feelings left for her, but doesn't want to have any weaknesses as a villain. So instead of just killing her, he wants to make her normal again. Luckily, I resurrected. Not surprisingly though, because, she's part plant. With Ivy's help, Harley managed to turn the tables and drop Joker into the vat of chemicals instead. And of course, we usually get the bad guy lair explosion. And this explosion leveled Gotham with a massive earthquake. In the chaos of this, Batman saved the two villains from falling debris, seemingly sacrificing himself. It looks like for the upcoming season, we're going to get a no man's land type of story involved, but it's going to be interesting when Joker comes back but looking normal. If you notice at the last shot, Joker survives, as usual, but his laugh dies down weirdly, and his hand turns from white to regular skin color. Wonder how Harley will take this, or if she'll even recognize him. This show has gained so much popularity these past few months. Harley really shines in the story, and Kaylee Cuoco does a fantastic job voicing her. Same goes to the rest of the cast. The villains, Psycho, Clayface, and King Shark have their moments as well, and Alan Tudyk does a good job as the Joker. And he makes it his own kind of character, after so many versions being put in. Season 2 should be quite enjoyable next month. Now, let's move on to the Harley Quinn movie, originally called Birds of Prey and the Fantabulous Emancipation of One Harley Quinn. Wow, that's a mouthful. Much like the show, Harley and the Joker are broken up, and she's doing things on her own. Problem is, she's crossed a lot of people, but got away with it because she was the Joker's girl. Now that's just her, everyone wants a piece of her, especially Black Mask. In the midst of this movie, a pickpocket has stolen a diamond from Black Mask, which gives Harley a chance to earn his favor if she gets the diamond back. This leads to the big team up with 3 other women that have a bone to pick with Black Mask. This movie is definitely different from previous movies in this shared universe. Margot Robbie once again shines as the title character in this film. We see not only the usual quirks, but we see all different layers of Harley, and especially with her low moments. This just shows that Harley is becoming more of an anti-hero than villain in recent media. The rest of the women have done a good job as well. They all operate in a gray area, so there's no straight up good guy in this film. Journey Smollett-Bell really impressed me as Black Canary. She's an incredible singer along with a very powerful canary cry. I like the callback to how her mother was a hero in Gotham as the previous Black Canary, and apparently got killed fighting the good fight. This probably led Diana to not follow in her footsteps, and just began looking out for herself. Luckily, she knows how to fight well against street punks besides using the cry. But she's the kind of character that may seem to be looking out for herself, but has a soft spot for those in suffering situations, and decided not to be Black Mask's chauffeur anymore. As for the Huntress, Mary Winstead unfortunately had very little screen time playing her character. I'm glad we finally got the origin of the Bertinelli Huntress done right in live-action format. I loved how she was so awkward in every interaction, whether it be with the main cast or whoever she was killing. Given her very brief backstory, it made sense that she didn't have much social skills. Now for the last two leading ladies, I had mixed feelings about them before seeing the movie, but they really do fit in the context of the story. When it was announced that Birds of Prey movie is coming out, I'd hoped we see Barbara Gordon as Oracle, for she was one of the founding members of the team with Black Canary. My guess is that the writers of the film didn't want any member of the Bat family involved. That being said, Renee Montoya is a good choice to put in instead of Barbara, for she's one of the more honest cops, plus there was a time she became the second question in the comics. Maybe that could happen in a sequel or two, who knows. Now for the pickpocket, Cassandra Cain. This is the very opposite of how her characters are presented in the comics. Originally, she is the mute daughter of two assassins, trained from birth to be one herself, but eventually didn't want to follow that path and became the next Batgirl after Barbara and Huntress. Her costume is definitely the most intimidating as far as other Batgirl costumes. In this movie, she does not show any skills as an assassin, as she's just looking to get by and eventually want to become a criminal after seeing Harley in action. Now, could something happen where she might leave the life of crime? Could happen too, but once again, the writers want to bring in characters that don't have much of a tie to Batman, and I get that. Keeping that in mind, the actress did a good job with the character. Her scenes with Harley were pretty funny, especially with the final battle. But before going to that, I should probably put my 2 cents in for the villain, Black Mask. I didn't think I could see Ian McGregor play this type of role, for he's known for playing good guy characters like Obi-Wan. But man, his role took me by surprise the most. It was so convincing how messed up this character was, especially for making a customer do a dance for him just for supposedly chuckling at him. I'd say make sure Obi-Wan doesn't go to the dark side instead of Anakin. Though I have to say, how he died was kind of funny, but a little bit silly. Pretty sly how Cassandra planted a grenade, and the fact that he jumped over the bridge and screamed like a girl before the explosion, that just killed me. Although half of me was kind of hoping we'd see an actual fight between Harley and Black Mask. But still, I was overall not disappointed. The rest of the fight choreography was fun, creative, and definitely made use of the R rating. I think my favorite fight scenes was when Harley broke into GCPD and instead of using a traditional gun, she had one that shot beanie bags. I was like, yep, that's totally a Harley thing to do. This movie definitely nailed Harley Quinn as a character. They should have named it that at the beginning. Let it be her solo movie, but to introduce the Birds of Prey team. All in all, this gives me hopes for the next Suicide Squad movie, and I can't wait to see what she's going to do in that one. And now for the latest animated DC movie, Superman Red Son. This is one of the few Elseworld stories adapted to animation. This one follows Superman if he was raised by the Soviets and joined the army during the Cold War. It's a classic nature versus nurture story, and how it affects not only Superman-related characters, but many other aspects of the DC universe. At the start, we see that Superman hasn't really changed that much. He still fights to protect everyone and has the utmost faith in the system he grew up in, but is very judgmental towards capitalism. Once Superman knows the truth of how the Soviets handled its dissidents, especially with his childhood friend caught in the middle, all hell breaks loose. After killing Stalin, Superman is now leading the Soviets to free any country from capitalism. As for Luthor, he and Lois are married in this story, and even though he's not a villain, he's still the same super genius and works tirelessly to stop Superman. He starts up with creating a Bizarro clone called Superior Man. I like how the clone wears the traditional costume, but he starts to resemble traditional Bizarro before dying for being pushed over the limit. Through Superman's rule, there seems to be peace, minus a Brannick invasion where Stalingrad gets drank to a bottle instead of Kandor. News of Superman's rule has caught Wonder Woman's attention, where she wants to work with him in order to bring about peace to the whole world. I find it funny that Diana says she's a lesbian when Superman lead in for a kiss. I mean, I get that she lives on an island of all women, but half me thinks she just wants Superman to work for it if they want to be something more than just friends. However, what makes Russia so peaceful is that Superman enslaves any dissidents under mind control instead of killing them. This has brought out the Russian Batman to strike terror as a way to free the country from Superman's rule, for he was one of the kids that survived the gulags. Given the circumstances, it's understandable why this Batman has no problem with collateral damage to accomplish his goals. I guess Bruce Wayne is living a quiet, luxurious life. Eventually, we get to see yet another Batman-Superman fight. Only Wonder Woman is tied up to be the meteor by her own lasso because of Batman's planning. As usual, Batman levels a playing field, only instead of kryptonite, which oddly has not been used here, we see solar lamps emitting a red sun to depower Superman. Luckily, Wonder Woman breaks free from the lasso, but became weak and nearly fragile, for the lasso's energy was connected to hers. Still, she managed to disable the lamps for Superman to regain his powers, but Batman blew himself up to not be another reprogrammed servant. Wonder Woman then leaves Superman, for she could not stand by his side any longer. As the years passed, Superman grew more and more distant as Lex became president and helped make America a stronger force, even able to start a Green Lantern Corps as another means to fight against Supes. The Lanterns came close, but even with an army of them, Superman still won. Although Wonder Woman did kind of help a little bit, but mostly tried to end this conflict, but neither side wanted to really end it with peace. Of course, victory wasn't really the goal for Luthor, for somehow he managed to have this bottle city of Stalingrad taken away while Superman was fighting the Lanterns and made his way to the White House to end this. Thanks to Lois's words, Superman realized that, in some ways, he was no better than Stalin. Not to say that Superman was just as bad as Stalin historically, but this is pretty much one dictator trait for another one, despite different methods. That's when we see that Brainiac was goading Superman all along to attack the US in order to help with his own goals of global conquest, which leads to a Superman-Luthor team-up against Brainiac. Kind of feels too soon for them to work together after so many years of fighting, but this is the final battle. Superman and Luthor win, of course, but the ship is rigged to explode, so Superman has to rush to get the ship far away from Earth as possible. And it looks as though that the Man of Steel didn't survive the explosion. After that, Lex announces his leave of office, but we see that Superman survived, not surprisingly, but with a Clark Kent disguise, as now it gets a chance to live among the people. In short, this is a very interesting film that will definitely get people's attention. I know that some fans aren't too pleased that the ending didn't have the same plot twist as the original story, but I think it would be too complicated to add into film, for you can't really put every aspect of the original story in movie format, especially if you want the target audience to be more than just the people who read the original story. The voice cast was very impressive here, especially with Jason Isaacs' unique take on the Man of Steel. I find it rare for him to play a good guy, for I've seen him play all sorts of villainous roles throughout his career. Diedrich Bader does a good job as Luthor, for he definitely shows off the big ego persona, but more human and less crazy than the typical Luthor. Roger Craig Smith did well as Batman, especially since he's played the normal type of Batman in other media. My biggest surprise to the cast was Paul Williams as Brainiac. In DC animation, he has voiced the Penguin back in the 90s Batman animated series. After the show finished its run, he hasn't appeared as Penguin in the DCU or other DC animation until now. He's the third actor now to have played a Batman villain before voicing Brainiac. So if you like to see characters in a different light, then Superman Red Sun is the movie for you. Now for the Select 7 segment. And this list is going to be my favorite Harley Quinn actresses. This list will include both live action and voiceovers. My first pick is Arlene Sorkin from the DCU, for I have grown up seeing this character from Batman the Animated Series to the Arkham Asylum video game. After that, Margot Robbie, for she's the best live-action Harley Quinn I've seen to date. And yes, there have been a couple of attempts before Suicide Squad. Third is Kelly Cuoco, for she really stands out from the cast as the title character, and she really sounds like she has fun getting into character. My fourth pick is Hynden Welch from the Batman series, as well as a few other movies. Her Harley voice initially may have sounded similar to Arlene Sorkin, but it's really become her own voice in later movies. For the last three, it's Tara Strong, Melissa Rauch, and Laura Post. Tara's interpretation definitely sounded close to Arlene Sorkin's, but it also sounded like her Bubbles voice from Powerpuff Girls. Eventually, she managed to find a good balance between the two voices in later games. The latter two did well to stand out a bit and not sound like other interpretations, but compared to the rest, they don't really stand out too much. Well, that's it for today's episode. Stay tuned for more reviews and other content coming soon. This is B-Night Entertainment, signing off.